and then shifting back into the sign of Pisces. This is quite a big one, actually, because this year we've got Neptune. Actually, this month, Neptune is shifting into the sign of Aries as well, meaning that Venus and Neptune will be meeting 3 times. So there's a lot to do here. So we are going to try to unpack this for you. And I'm going to be giving you a short description for each of the 12 signs as well, so that you can do some preparation around it. Venus movement is highly interesting, so I recommend staying till the very end of the video, not just kind of like looking at your own rising sign or sun sign, because you can basically unpack the entire process of Venus if you listen to this video till the very end. Okay, but before we do that, if you would like to go ahead and get my book, it's still available for purchase. You can check it out. It's a good 200 pages, and it's going to show you how to unlock your financial abilities. And if you would like to study with me, actually, I started to teach about vocational astrology. It's a 20-week course. It's still available. It's not late to join. We had the first class, and it was quite a blast. I'm showing you in the first class how to kind of score your points in order for you to figure out, like score your planet in order for you to figure out which planet can become the vocational planet of yours. So, but let's get started with this Venus retrogression. First of all, I would like to give you some dates that you might want to be paying attention to. So what happens is when a planet goes retrograde, it looks like that it goes kind of like backwards, but actually that's not the case. We just kind of see that way from our viewpoint. So we call, when the planet goes retrograde, it's going to be, there is going to be a degree where it's going to be returning. So, and then it's going to be a degree, there's going to be a degree where it's kind of like going to move backwards. So basically on 28th of January, 2025, Venus entered 24 degree of Pisces, and that was the start of the shadow period. And basically, Venus is going to move forward and it's going to reach 10 degree of Aries on the 2nd of March, where it's going to go stationary retrograde. So it means that Venus is going to be back and forth between these 16 degrees. So the important dates that you might want to remember is 28th of January, 24 degree of Pisces. Then we've got 2nd of March, where Venus stations retrograde, and that's going to be 10 degree of Aries. So if you have got any progress planet, solar arc planet, or natal planet within this degree window, then this is actually a highly important time for you. And then on the 23rd of March, there is going to be an inferior conjunction with the Sun at 2 degree of Aries. So that's another very important degree. We're going to call it as the Venus star point, which I'm going to be making a separate video about. And then on the 13th of April, Venus is going to go direct on 24 degree of Pisces. So there is the repetition of that. And then 16th of May, actually, Venus will leave its retrograde shadow period at 10 degree of Aries. And then on the 6th of January, 2026, actually, we are going to be having a superior conjunction between Venus and the Sun, but that's going to be happening on 16 degree of Capricorn. I believe I've made a separate video already on Venus retrograde last year, when I was kind of like preparing you guys for 2025. So you might want to be revisiting that video. Today, I'm just going to be giving you some additional headlights connected to this Venus retrograde. Okay, so first off, Venus in the sign of Aries. So I'm going to try to kind of like give you a bit of what Venus actually represents in the sign of Aries. So Venus shows us how we relate to others, how we express our affection, what ways we feel appreciated, and also how you create harmony and balance in your life. Also, your likes and dislikes, what I like doing, what I don't like doing, your personal taste. So therefore, it represents your fashion, your appearance, and so on. But also it's going to show you how you dress up, what type of makeup you put on, and even it shows your fetishes, kind of like your connection towards sexuality, porn, and so on. Now, interesting maybe to look at the mythology of Venus. Venus was actually the Roman goddess of sex, love, fertility, and beauty. And Romans, by the way, took over quite a lot of deities from the Greek. So in Greek mythology, Venus would be Aphrodite. And Venus actually had quite a few lovers. She was quite promiscuous. So she went out with Vulcan and Mars as well. So basically, she was in a love triangle. And Vulcan, by the way, had four other children with other women as well. Vulcan actually got to know that there was this romance going on with Venus and Mars. So he created this invisible net and set it around the bed. And then they were actually caught in the bedroom. And then Vulcan called in all the gods to the bedroom to kind of humiliate them. So that would be the mythology with them. Now, Venus did have children with Mars. One was Phobos, which is the god of fear. Then we had Deimos, which is the god of terror. And then we had Harmonia, which represents concord and harmony. And we had Cupid as well, which is the asteroid of love. So you can find these asteroids in your natal chart as well. And often you will see that their meaning is somehow connected to Venus and Mars. But today I'm not going to be talking to you about the four children of Venus and Mars, because maybe this is not necessarily important. A fun fact about Venus is that it's actually the warmest planet of the solar system, and she is not the closest to the sun. So often it is said that Venus rules actually the greenhouse effect in our chart as well. Also, she has got the most volcanoes. So does that mean that maybe Venus rules over volcanoes, especially when Uranus and Venus are connected? It's kind of like maybe good to kind of contemplate on that. Venus also represents in your chart enjoyment, fun, and kind of like a desire to party because it has got planetary joy in the fifth house. Venus is like being drunk on feelings. It shows how we seduce someone, how far we go, and how we can get actually harmony in our lives. So love has got different types of like forms, right? So she's all type of love. We can have platonic love, physical love, the unreachable love, the sacred prostitution type of love, the sleeping beauty type of love, and so forth. So it's kind of like very opposite to Mercury. It's interesting where Mercury is exalted, Venus is actually debilitated there. So Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo, while Venus has got some debilitation going on there. Or Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. Mercury has got quite detrimental power in the sign of Pisces. But also very interesting that they never go too far away from each other, right? So Mercury goes maximum 29 degrees away from the sun, and Venus goes approximately about 48 degrees from the sun. So I tend to call Venus as the law of attraction, how you attract others and things into your life. And also it's the love of pleasure, the desire for finer things in life as well. It represents self-worth. I mean, think about self-worth. Sometimes we put on jewelries and we eat chocolate because we want to feel better. So yes, Venus rules two signs in our chart. One is Taurus, the other one is Libra. So the Taurian Venus is a little bit more practical, and the Libra Venus is a little bit more about beauty and harmony. So it does represent our five senses as well: touch, smell, taste, and so forth. But also, this is the planet of etiquette as well, especially when Venus is connected to Saturn. That combination would talk to us about etiquette. Kind of like, you know, what I'm going to be reacting to certain type of things when I see it around me But maybe I don't necessarily agree with that. The reason why I'm talking about etiquette today is because Venus is also going to be making free conjunctions to Saturn as well. One has already taken place on 16 degree of Pisces, and we are going to be experiencing two more conjunctions between them too. Venus rules Friday, Venus rules over copper as well. I mean, when you think about iron and copper together, one is kind of like, the conductor of electricity. So it has got a major role when it comes to pregnancies, for example. However, Venus has got the darker side of it as well. So it could represent greed, hedonism, perversion, prostitution, gluttony, in love with the feeling of love. There is dissatisfaction going on with Venus kind of all the time because we need a little bit more and more from something. And this is going to be a big topic, especially in the sign of Aries and Pisces as well, where Venus is going to go retrograde. And sometimes Venus is kind of shameless also. And it can be very emotionally demanding as well. Okay, so according to traditional astrology, Venus is actually in detriment in the sign of Aries because it rules Libra and the opposing sign is Aries. So Venus does not do too well in the sign of Aries. This is a traditional concept. I'm not the biggest fan of these anymore because I think it can really manifest pretty well in our lives as well. I tend to call Venus in the sign of Aries as the Angelina Jolie aspect. You always see her in her movies with a gun in her pocket and shooting and so forth. And of course, she is a very pretty lady, in my opinion, and she made a huge success for herself as well. So it's not impossible to work with planets in detriment, but yes, potentially we might need to learn a little bit more about them. So, what can we say about Venus in Aries? Well, retrogression, first of all, is about having to revisit a certain topic of our life. So, the reason why I gave you such a detailed description about Venus, because one of those topics you're going to have to be revisiting, reassessing in your own life. So, Venus in Aries is very much talking to you about having to become a warrior. You're going to have to be a tiger. You're going to have to be fierce. It's not a classic ladylike position. So just think about, again, Angelina Jolie. You're going to need to have that gun in your pocket. You're going to have to be able to defend yourself. And yes, often Venus in Aries is kind of like a little bit of a tomboy type of archetype as well. We might know that this is not what I'm supposed to do as a lady, but I'm still going to be doing it. So it's kind of like the masculine expression of Aries. But Aries is a fire sign. So often what happens is that this kind of like masculine expression of Venus is happening because we got burned before. And maybe it's cultural, maybe this is a love story, maybe someone took our own money, and so forth. So that's why we learn to kind of have a defense mechanism created with Venus in Aries to protect yourself from scarring. Aries is our survival instinct. It has got that kind of like psychological built-in triggers to be protected or to protect something. So you don't want to come across to people as weak because you are afraid that you are going to get taken advantage of. So, oh, by the way, also Venus could be representation in a female chart. What type of how you kind of think about love, and in a masculine chart, it would talk to us about what type of girls we are attracted to, for example. So it really kind of indicates that you're gonna have to start initiating certain things in your life. What is your desire? How are you going to go after that? But the retrogression is going to tell you that you're going to have to slow down a little bit. You're going to have to be patient. You might start initiating something, and then when Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces, you might decide, you know what, this is not working for me. I have to be altering. my actions, or I have to be able to forgive someone, for example, before I want to start a new relationship. So it looks like you're going to have to go down on a memory lane to kind of figure out where some of your Venusian issues are originated from. And often with Venus in the sign of Aries, you want to show that I'm better than others. But then you might realize later on, while Venus in the sign of Pisces, that you know what, actually, I have to be just proving it to myself. I don't need to be strong all the time. I can actually be vulnerable as well. So there is definitely this huge indication with Venus in the sign of Aries that it's time to practice self-care and self-love. It is telling us that we need to be grabbing every single opportunity that is ahead of us, and we need to be able to enjoy every moment of life. And you know what? Aries is about energy. So we need to be able to turn our energies into a source of joy. And even though, yes, sometimes we might be overdoing that, so when Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces, maybe we're going to have to learn to rest a little bit, because it's not all about joy and so forth. But sometimes we're going to have to kind of retreat from any kind of heavy situation as well. This can, often you're going to read about Venus retrograde that yeah, an ex is coming back, or all those type of stuff, or I wouldn't do any cosmetic surgeries during that period of time. Okay, I think this is really a modern approach, and I think it's not the right approach, to be frank. I would say that Venus has got a sacred movement in the sky. So every 8 years it goes retrograde in the same sign. Every 4 years, actually, it is making a conjunction in the same side to the sun as well. So you might want to go back to 2021 to start with, and then have a look at what went down there. Or you might want to go back and revisit 2017 around March and April, what has happened in your life. And yes, if you got married around that time, it is actually possible that you're going to get divorced. But maybe you had an unfinished business there in connection to your love life, and then now it's giving you the opportunity to finish that off. So there is definitely an evolvement going on with Venus retrograde. So, but moving forward, Venus in the sign of Aries is a little bit more emotionally aggressive. Aries represents something that you want. So I would say that I want love. I want money. And the question is, how brave are you? Are you courageous enough to kind of move forward in life? It's kind of like the energy when a woman decides to chase the man down. And, that's where the etiquette also coming into the picture. Venus and Saturn conjunction. This is not something I should be doing. This is not allowed. A woman shouldn't be fighting, and so forth. So maybe you're going to have to reevaluate this mentality as well. Often what happens with Venus in Aries that it gets into a relationship pretty quickly, but maybe the retrogression is telling you that you don't need to be rushing things through. Let's just get to know the person first. This is a very straightforward, a little bit more on the primitive and the raw side as well. So it's really easy to get into confrontations with others also. So the retrogression would tell you that, okay, it might be very important that you slow down a little bit before you get into a fight, kind of like count to 10. And Venus and Saturn conjunction happening 3 times is also a reminder of that too. And the Venus-Neptune will talk to us about forgiveness, but I'm going to come on to that in a short while. So when Venus gets hurt in the sign of Aries, it can become quite vindictive though. So also that could be something that might be happening, or there is a lot of internal conflict going on, because Venus is the partner and Aries is the self. So do I want to stay in this relationship? Do I want to move forward from it? Maybe there are problems around self-expression or independency matters, or actually the need for a relationship. Maybe this is an invitation to examine whether you've got enough excitement in your relationship. And this is quite a dramatic position, to be frank. So I'm not gonna lie, and often you might realize that I'm with a narcissistic person, or I have attracted abusive people into my life, or someone is kind of like wanting to be dominant over you, or you want to be dominant in the relationship as well. I would call Venus in the sign of Aries is like a woman with a whip in their hands, women with a whip in their hands, because it is such a go-getter here. And maybe sometimes Venus in the sign of Aries prefers high tensions in the relationship. So therefore, we can actually generate those. And when things are calm, then maybe actually we are a little bit more on the bored side as well. There's a lot of internal dialogue going on with Venus in the sign of Aries, because Aries wants to have an argument and Venus wants to keep the peace. So which one is going to happen here? Am I a people pleaser, or am I going to lash out on people? And you can get this kind of like push and pull energy into different directions. And Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces. We can say things to people that we are going to be regretting later on. Definitely, there is a very individualistic approach to love and money as well when it comes to Venus in the sign of Aries. This is kind of like maybe having to look at whether I do enough sport. Do I enjoy the sport that I do? Maybe it's in your 10th house, so you're going to have to look at whether you enjoy the job that you are doing. Are you competitive enough in the business world? Maybe you're going to have to kind of think of that too. And often, actually, this position indicates that you are out of touch of your feminine side. So the retrogression is an indication that you're going to have to get in touch with it a little bit. But maybe also imagine that if it happens in your 10th house, that you want others to kind of respect you as a female. So you are going to be fighting for it. This could indicate falling in love with someone very quickly, or I want to be in charge, or you want to be inspiring others, or you want your partner to inspire you as well. Maybe it's all about you wanting to release your full potentials. There is this indication of self-sufficiency with this position. And also, physical touch is extremely important in Venus in the sign of Aries, especially when it comes to touching. Like, because this is quite a highly sexual position. So maybe that's actually missing in the relationship. And you want to be kind of like working on that in the upcoming month. I would also say that most importantly, this is about how passionate you are about someone or about a situation in your life, but most importantly, whether you accept yourself the way you are, whether you are confident enough about something. Now, from a money point of view, this is all about being competitive when it comes to making money. This is about self-reliance. I'm not going to be relying on anyone else anymore. I'm going to be focusing, let's say, on self-employment, especially if it's connected to your 5th house. This is about standing up, learning to stand up for your own values, figuring out how passionate you are to make money. Maybe this is about kind of like trying to conquer an uninhibited area in your life. No one has ever kind of like explode yet. And then you are able to make money out of it. This is about a self-run business. This is about having a pioneering spirit. This is about going into business. So a lot of us are going to be thinking about new business opportunities. Um, Venus in the sign of Aries has got this mentality of I need the money, I have earned it, so let me burn it. So there is the tendency to spend money with it as well. Aries is quite on the impulsive side, so we can actually impulsively invest into something which we might regret later on. So again, watch out, because the retrogression is actually trying to make you a little bit more cautious, and Venus and Saturn conjunction surely talks to us about that as well. Often Venus in the sign of Aries loves buying new experiences, like, "Ooh, let me buy this new gun," or "let me buy this, I don't know, new knife," for example, because it looks super cool and then it's going to work out really well in the kitchen. So now we've got a bit of an idea about what Venus in Aries shows. Definitely, it would talk to us about having to explore our feelings about the people and even things that we value in life. And because retrogression is always a little bit more on the internal side, I feel like with Venus and Neptune conjunction, the healing starts within us. As I mentioned earlier, you might want to go back to 2017 and then think about what went down in your life. So I'm going to give you an example. Around that time, I proposed someone. So maybe I'm going to propose someone again, or maybe someone is going to propose to me. Let's see what's going to go down. At that time, unfortunately, I got a no. So hopefully this time around, maybe I'm going to get a yes, right? So by the way, also because Venus went into the sign of Pisces on the 3rd of January, and it was there until the 4th of February, you might even able to kind of look at what went down around that time, because as mentioned earlier, on the 27th of March, Venus is going to shift back into the sign of Pisces. So that is a very romantic position, very imaginative, very creative as well. It would talk to you about being sensitive, being very compassionate. Maybe actually you reached for something, but once back into the sign of Pisces, I'm going to reevaluate whether maybe I should be approaching this in a kind way or in a charitable way, for example. I would say that we have got a lot of water anyway in our chart, so it's very easy at the moment to be overly sensitive, and it's really easy to kind of try to defend yourself from these overwhelming emotions. That's what I feel about the most, because we don't want to be decepted or deceived. We don't want to get into these disillusionment. And we probably are still going to get into those, but we are fighting against those. And Venus in the sign of Pisces has got the tendency to daydream and fantasizing, and it wants to run away from certain type of reality matters, while Venus in the sign of Aries is actually going towards it, because I'm gonna actually beat the hell out of that dragon right in front of me, because I think I'm that strong. So you can experience these push and pull energies. Now, Venus in the sign of Aries is often, as mentioned earlier, a little bit more on the primitive side. So we might be shocking other people around us. All of a sudden, what happened? Venus in the sign of Aries can be very impatient. It can increase the sexual energies, and it can make us kind of a little bit more narcissistic as well, because I want sex right now. I want money right now. And I do not care how I'm going to get that. So this is where Venus in the sign of Pisces, and then having to let go of, or having to be able to apologize for something, or having to apologize for someone, or having to forgive someone, are going to be quite a major topic here. Venus in the sign of Aries, I'm going to show you, what I'm made of. I want this right now. So we can have that inclination to sometimes run into things that we might not be too proud of. Um, so definitely during this Venus retrograde period, we're going to have to re-examine our relationships, our finances, financial habits, but also how I look at myself. Maybe we're going to have to be watching out for what we spend money on, because our budget can be a little bit kind of like overstretched, or we've got these unexpected upcoming bills that we might not have encountered with, and then it leaves us in a financial pickle. During this period of time, we might want to seduce, we want to get what we desire. It might be a situation, a person. It's kind of like because I want you. Or we want more excitement, we want more passion. We are kind of like dreaming about someone, who is going to be able to give us something more than in our current relationship. So maybe this is the reason why we have got this tendency to go through a reevaluation. Even we can get into one night stand as well. So it's highly possible to be cheated on or to cheat on someone. Aries, Venus is very goal orientated. So, and egotistical as well. So this is my goal. I want it right now. And then if you want to stop me, then I'm going to remove you from my life. And then when Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces, we just realize that, you know what, it's actually more important to belong to someone, to unite with someone rather than just having to have money because I don't have anyone to kind of spend it with. So the carpe diem pretty much coming up with this. Excuse me. But what I actually wanted to talk to you about also, because I feel like that the Venus and Neptune conjunction are going to be very, very important. And Venus, as mentioned earlier, is going to be making 3 conjunctions to Neptune. So one already happened, and then we are going to be experiencing 2 more in the upcoming few months. So what is Neptune? I mean, Neptune is the undying love. It's the planet of unification. It's the planet of yearning for something. Often the problem with Neptune is that we don't have boundaries with it. We are unable to kind of measure up how distant something is or how far away it is from us. So it really kind of looks to me that we all, like I call Neptune as the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So we want something better. And maybe with Venus in the sign of Aries, we have initiated something, but there is an impatience going on. Things are not working out the way we wanted them to. So we might end up, because there is something better out there. So let me just go and get that one too. So this is where the slowing down period could be extremely important, even with Neptune also. With Venus and Neptune, surely this would talk to us about having to pay attention to others, having to kind of be more like courtesy could be really important, or wanting to help others as well, because maybe you started something and it is working for you. So actually you want to be helping, let's say, your best friend, your partner, your loved ones, and so forth. The question is, do they want the same things as you? Because we can really get agitated that I'm trying to help you and then you are not moving forward. With Neptune, it's about dissolving something. And then Saturn is there too, which represents the walls. So it really feels like that it wants to dissolve the walls that you have built around how lovable you are, how strong you are, how kind of like masculine you are. Obviously, there is a defense mechanism going on there. And Venus and Neptune can be very much about collaboration. So maybe this is the realization that, you know what, I can do things on my own, but maybe sometimes I'm going to have to count on others as well. So let's get together and then let's find a solution to a certain type of issues, for example. But we should not forget about reality. We should not forget about responsibilities in our life, or how serious we are. And that's where Saturn comes into the picture as well. So I would say that it's a very good time actually to plan things out cautiously, slowly, but surely. It is okay to dream, but we're going to have to make the first steps as well to move forward, but somehow to practice certain type of patience. Now, let's have a look at how this might play out for the 12 signs. So let's see Aries rising sign. So Aries rising sign, of course, this is going to be happening in your first house. So maybe you want to be looking at whether you want to become an entrepreneur. Maybe you're going to have to look at whether you want to take a risk in your life, whether you want to start a new relationship, for example, or you want to be single again. This could also talk to you about that maybe it's a time for you to kind of like reevaluate your spending habits, how much money you spend on yourself. And also maybe you made some financial decisions in the past, but maybe it has to be kind of like rectified right now. So maybe we're going to have to kind of tighten the belt a little bit. Uh, Venus might be wanting to teach you that with this retrogression. Also, of course, Venus is represent something to do with relationship matters as well. First of all, Venus, I would say that I would be listening to the entire video just because I have described Venus in the sign of Aries in depth. So I would definitely be doing that. Here, I'm just going to be giving you a very brief summary. But maybe it's also about reconnecting with your own sense of self, your identity. Maybe you want to be making changes in your lifestyle around your appearance. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe actually you put on weight in 2017. Now you want to kind of shed that off. Or maybe you did diet in 2021, 21 or 2017, and then you now want to go back to that. Also, I would say that maybe you need to be looking at what you think about yourself, who you are, how confident you come across to others. But we're going to have Venus retrograde also in the sign of Pisces, which is in the 12th house. And that is an indication that you're going to have to let go of an old self. You're going to have to surrender. You're going to have to be reconnecting with your sacred mission in life. The 12th house is going to be about closure. So the closure of a relationship, letting go of loved ones. Maybe these are not serving your individuality and your personal growth anymore. Often also, any type of retrogression is said to be kind of like quite karmic. And especially when it connects to Neptune, it would feel like that, you know what? I've met a very karmic person, but maybe it's no time for us. Maybe you're gonna have to look at what you do for your own pleasure. Um, Reflecting on past relationships. Maybe you had a certain way of looking at your partnerships before, and then now you want to upgrade that. It's kind of like the realization that this one is not working the way how I moved forward in life because I keep making the same mistakes. Okay, let's move on to Taurus rising sign. So, dear Taurus, first of all, this retrogression is happening in your 12th and 11th house. So, on one hand, Taurus usually loves indulgence, and then it has got a really fine taste as well. I mean, Venus does rule your first house to start with. So now having that in the 12th house, maybe what you need to be looking at is all those inner urges or temptations to kind of spend money on yourself on a luxurious holiday or something that is kind of like kind of comfortable for you. So maybe it's about getting out of your comfort zone to be able to move forward to, financially. Because the 12th house often represents high expenditures or certain type of financial problems in our lives. So we definitely have to be able to look at this. And you Taurus are very much about security as well. So how do I feel in my own skin? And maybe this kind of like self-confidence issue is actually coming from the past. Maybe let's say you love luxurious items. This is originated from something, somewhere. So this is telling you that it's actually time to kind of discover all those. So Taurus, you also have to be doing a bit of a surrendering here. Sometimes you're going to have to retreat, be silent. Going to have to rest a little bit more. resting the body, for example. So watch out for flus and viruses because you might be more of a victim of that. But it's also the creation of space to reflect on what I truly desire. What comes to my mind is actually the movie Lucifer. What is he saying? What's your heart desire, in a kind of cryptic way. So it really looks like that you're going to have to be able to do something very similar. Maybe it's the fear of love, or you have been burned or hurt before, and this is the reason why you just want to stay alone. But Venus moving back into your 11th house later on in March is going to talk to you about that having to kind of be around people. The true happiness is going to be coming from forgiving those who potentially might have hurt you, because you being surrounded by loving and caring people going to bring you a lot more happiness or opportunities in life. I would also potentially mention that maybe this period of time feels extremely karmic for you. Maybe it's about bumping into a karmic connection with someone, or potentially, yes, maybe someone comes back into your life you haven't heard of for a very long time, so that you can have that full closure with the person, and maybe we are going to become friends as well. And then once Venus is back into the sign of Pisces, you definitely going to become a lot more reflecting on your past situations connected to love and finances, as well as how you treat your own body. Yeah, you might be even reevaluating your connections with your friends as well. Okay, let's move on to Gemini rising sign. Okay, so for you, Gemini, this Venus retrograde is going to be taking place in your 11th house, and it's going to be shifting back into the 10th. So what it looks like you are going to be focusing on this retrograde period is something to do with money. Maybe how much money we spend, or what type of money opportunities we've got. Maybe this is going to be about how to manage your money, or how much money I make through the business. It really kind of feels like that maybe you are going to be potentially collaborating or making arrangements with friends. Maybe the friends are going to be returning money to you, or you're just working towards kind of like a promotion, or working towards um, something to do with like business opportunities. I would say that maybe this time around, you're going to have to be a little bit more cautious about who you lend money to, what type of financial arrangements you are making with others, because potentially you might get burned. Retrogression often is a representation of regretting something. But also, this Venus retrograde is going to talk to you about having to be out there. So showing your skill set to the world, showing who you are, and potentially kind of like being the unapologetic version of yourself. Maybe you want to be sharing your wisdom with others, or you want to be showing them that, you've got a unique talent, for example, you've got a unique vision. And why haven't you done so? This could be the question of the retrograde period. With retrogression, often we need to remember something. So we need to be able to remember our deep roots as well, because Venus does rule the 12th house in your chart. And maybe we need to be even remembering our heart desire also. But Venus will be shifting back into the sign of Pisces, which is going to be connected, of course, with your career department. So somehow you are focusing on your long-term vision, your goals, your careers, and maybe you kind of realize that this job doesn't kind of value me anymore, or my value system is not aligned with the company policies and so forth. So you kind of want to create like a space between yourself and the work that you do. So you've got a lot to figure out here. It could also bring back some old friends into your life. It could also indicate that maybe you reconnect with someone who has supported you before, or reconnecting with old friends, or you make certain type of new associations as well. Maybe you just remember how well you felt when you were with these old friends, and then you kind of want to feel that again. But Venus is going to be making free conjunctions to Neptune, so you can get quite confused about what your career goal is, what your ambitions are, or whether what recognition means for you. So it looks like you're going to have to kind of figure that out also. Okay, Cancer rising sign. So for you, Cancer, this is taking place in your 10th and 9th house. Starts in the 10th, finishes in the 9th. So Cancer, you are not the most materialistic person ever, but it looks like maybe now you are going to be a little bit focusing on that more because this Venus retrograde wants you to kind of become a little bit more business savvy. Maybe usually all you focus about is just to create like comfort and great food and yeah, in a way comfort to your family or a safe space pretty much to every single one of your loved ones. And but maybe this time around, an old dream is kind of coming back to you, like something that used to pull your heartstring, let's say before you were a mom or a wife, and so on. And maybe you're gonna have the desire to kind of initiate or to do something with those dreams. And yes, maybe therefore, because you are quite an emotional person, it's highly possible that you are going to be spending a little bit more money on family members, because the 10th house can also represent parenting as well. So just be mindful about that. But also this Venus retrograde kind of like could talk to you about moving forward in your career department, kind of like figuring out what your long-term plans are, what type of impact you would like to make on people's life, maybe your loved ones, and so forth. So it really looks like that you are meant to be reviewing your values to kind of clarify what is important to you, what matters to you, what your goals are, what you consider as being successful. Is it just enough for you to become a parent, a mom, and so forth? Or is there anything else out there that you might desire? Because it looks like you're going to get the opportunities. Venus is going to make three conjunctions, at least to be precise, two more conjunctions to Neptune because one of them had already happened. So it looks like that you might be yearning for a different kind of lifestyle. And sometimes it might be just that I want to live somewhere else. I want to have this perfect job and so forth. So it looks like that you're going to have to figure out what your vision is. And sometimes, what the best course of action is to write these down because you might tend to be being a little bit more on the scattered side. Also, I would say that apart from having this deeper look at your own goals, I would say that maybe also you're going to have to be just kind of like backtracking whether you get recognized for being a good mom. You might start questioning that, doubting that, or you just wish to get some type of feedback and appreciation from all your loved ones, what you do for them. Let's move on to Leo rising sign. So Leo, you are one of those signs that are extremely business savvy and you are all about recognition and you want to achieve something in life. You can be quite a go-getter. And Venus goes retrograde in your 9th house. So it looks like that maybe opportunities that are coming your way. But sometimes we might be, Aries wants to jump into a situation, into an opportunity because it looks too good. So we're going to have to maybe slow down a little bit or just be a little bit more patient with that. And also, Leo, you love luxury and quality and, these resorts and so forth. So when Venus is going through the 9th house, maybe actually you want to go on a luxurious holiday, for example. And the question is, do you have the money for it? So this is where the financial planning could be coming into the picture. And of course, both Aries and Leo says at the same time that it's something that I deserve. But also, I would say that because Leo would be about confidence level, And then the ninth house is also to a certain extent a representation of confidence as well. So maybe this is actually inviting you to kind of be more confident about what you have as a talent. Maybe it's something to do with your studies, as well, that you have been studying something for a very long time, and then this week with this Venus retrograde you want to do a little bit of a revision, for example, because you are unsure about something. And a retrograde often kind of brings up the past issues as well. So this could be connected, for example, to your own confidence level, how much you want to shine, how much you want to be appearing in front of the public, because that's what you were born for. And watch out again for expenditure, because often it would indicate that we are going to regret when we are spending too much money on certain type of things. Now, I would also say with for you, Leo rising sign, maybe you're gonna have to kind of align a little bit your mind, your body, your intuition, your heart. Maybe you're gonna have to review your belief system about what love means to you, what money means to you. I would say that the ninth house is also something to do with procreation. So it means that you want to give birth to something, something potentially creative. But do you have the belief system? Do you have the optimism that actually you can kind of do that? And with the ninth house, we do a lot of soul searching, is the meaning to life. So am I in a meaningful relationship? That could be also something that you might want to be looking at. And Venus will be actually shifted back into your eighth house. So often this would be the representation of you trusting your loved ones, but also trusting your own abilities as well. Also for you, Leo, apart from being focused on how to grow, it might be talking to you about certain type of personal growth that you would like to kind of go through. But you potentially, when Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces, you're going to start doubting and questioning things. Maybe you are going to go back to basics, and then you kind of realize that you're going to have to dig deeper a little bit to figure out some of the origins of your own issues. It could even indicate that you want to go back to a place, for example, with the ninth house, where you felt so content and happy before. And I would also say that once Venus goes back into the sign of Pisces, you can get a little bit confused. You can start reflecting, for example, a little bit more on your intimate life, on your assets, on how much money you've got, what type of investments I've got, and so on. And potentially that might show some delays as well that you might be having to face. Virgo rising sign. So Virgo, when it comes to, for example, the finances, you don't tend to be so much of a like a spender. You know pretty much your limits. Even though Venus is going to be in the sign of Aries, it can fire things up a little bit, but I think you are a little bit more on the cautious side. So it doesn't feel like that you are in trouble. However, Venus will be going retrograde in your eighth house, which is a financial house. So it can actually talk to you about that maybe you are prompted to be a little bit more daring when it comes to investments. Maybe you are reviewing your receipts, or you are reviewing your bank loans. You create certain type of new budgets. You've got like a consultation going on with a financial planner and so forth. Or maybe actually you even look at your partner's finances, and then you kind of don't agree with it. Maybe they have been repeating the same mistakes all over again, and then you kind of want to talk to them about it. But also, maybe this could really talk to you about whether there is that intimacy and spark and vulnerability with your romantic connections. Maybe this is kind of like a psychological complex which is deeply rooted. It comes from certain type of fears and some emotional turmoil, or even maybe there is the truth that you would like to talk to about with your partner, but maybe you are a little bit scared to kind of do that. And maybe this is about actually you. That you don't have the greatest relationship with yourself because there is no self-acceptance there. And once Venus is going to go back into the sign of Pisces, this self-acceptance can be mirrored by other people as well. So this Venus retrograde could be really a reminder that it's time to let go of something, time to release maybe certain type of pains and blockages that are holding you back from making these very intimate connections with others. So sometimes you just need to dig deep and then be aware that there is something there that needs to be healed. And we can do that on a conscious level, we can do that on an unconscious level, but it would be so important that actually you start something with it, because Venus goes retrograde in the sign of Aries. So it's kind of like I have to be holding that pain and that traumatic experience that I've got. I have to name it and I have to say goodbye to it. I would also say that with this Venus retrograde, maybe you just want to go back to basics to kind of review your relationship dynamics and then seeing the need that maybe we're going to have to be rebuilding some of these intimate moments. Maybe things are actually slowing down in the intimacy department in your relationship. And then you are thinking about, okay, how can we kind of spice it up a little bit? But maybe also it could indicate that you have got certain type of settlements going on in your life, and then it has to be reviewed. Maybe this is not going in the right direction, and something needs to change around that too. And it could also indicate that you might not be potentially seeing eye to eye with someone who is kind of important to you. And yeah, Venus moving back into your seventh house, generally speaking, it could indicate an ex of yours is going to come back into your life. Highly possible. That might leave you a little bit confused. Libra rising sign. So you are ruled by Venus. And on one hand, Libra, you are all about creating harmony, peace, and accepting people the way they are. It's about sharing as well. But of course, it can represent war and conflict also. But from a financial point of view, this would talk to you about potentially that you're going to have to just keep an eye on how much money I spend on partners, how dependent I am on others, as well as how dependent they are on me. It could actually talk to you about working together with the partner, or you are reviewing your business partnerships, for example. And yeah, maybe you have got some financial collaboration going on with others, and then you're going to start reviewing whether it's the right for you or not. Now, also, because of course, Venus retrograde is going to be starting in your seventh house. So, do I get valued by my partner, or what do I value in my relationship with others? Am I seen by others, or do I allow others to love me? Am I able to kind of express my love towards others? That could be also a big thing. And with Aries, we want something. So we've got our needs and wants. So here, the needs and desires are meeting with Venus in the sign of Libra. So if you are single, surely this could be sparking you up in a way that, you know what, I want to be in a relationship. And we might start initiating certain type of things around that. But the retrogression would indicate that there is something to be healed here. Maybe we're going to have to listen to our heart desire. Maybe physically you want to stay together with someone, but something is telling you that this person might not be the right for you, for example. So any type of partnership is going to be quite a focus for you. And I would say that because Venus rules you, self-love is going to be highly important. Venus is going to shift back into your sixth house. So self-care is surely going to be a big topic for you. taking care of your physical body because Venus rules that. Maybe you're going to have to kind of appreciate your beauty, your body a little bit more. Maybe you're going to have to find a balance between your emotional and physical world as well. And potentially, because Venus rules you, I would say that you are going to be reflecting on your own approach to relationship, partnership, and business connections overall. And yeah, maybe an ex-partner is coming back into your life. Maybe a ex-business partner is going to be knocking on your door. But often with Venus retrograde in the sign of Pisces, you are going to realize that I cannot go backwards all the time. I'm going to have to kind of move forward. But also the sixth house is very productive as well. And of course, it represents routines and responsibilities and employment. So maybe you decide that I am very dependent on my partner and I want to get a job, for example. Scorpio rising sign. So Scorpio, you are one of the financial signs. And of course, Venus is a financial planet. So it looks like that maybe your eyes are going to be quite focused on potential investments. And yes, Venus is going retrograde in your sixth house, but it's going to go back into the fifth. So also it might be talking to you about that you are getting tired of working at a job that is kind of burning you out. So therefore, you start considering what your heart's desire is and what you actually would like to make money out of. Also, this Venus retrograde could talk to you about you're going to have to organize your finances a little bit more. You have to keep a track of your own expenditure, where the money goes, how much I pay for the bills, and all those type of things. So we can kind of do that. And it can also indicate that you're going to have some unexpected expenses popping up, which might be actually kind of making you feel bittersweet in a way. So definitely you need to be financially prepared. But on top of that, this Venus retrograde happening in your sixth house, which is the house of self-care. So what do you do on a daily basis to show your body and to yourself that you love them? I would say that this is kind of like, Venus is sensual. So I don't know, maybe you need to be stroking your own body. You need to figure out what your body actually likes. What is your food intake like? What your needs are. Retrograde is about retracing, reflecting on something. So do I treat my body right? Do I show my body that this is one of the most important kind of like temple of mine, and we're going to have to start doing that on a daily basis. Yeah, this is possible that you want to lose weight, for example, or you're going to start doing some rituals as well. It really kind of feels like that you are invited to start loving yourself and loving your body. And maybe you just need to be looking into the mirror on a daily basis and tell and kind of look at what you like about yourself. But Venus is going to go back into your fifth house, which is one of the sport houses. So maybe this is telling you to explore what you actually enjoy. Is that something to do with, I don't know, dancing, singing, going to a karaoke bar, doing some spiritual practice, some yoga, some meditation? Because this might want you to get back into that type of business also. And I would say that for you, Venus in Scorpio can make you a little bit confused about your own kind of like what you are meant to be doing on a daily basis and what your role is, for example, in the household, or what your responsibility is, for example, in the relationship, because Venus rules your relationship department. So it would be highly important that we have got some kind of like barriers here, and then we share responsibilities so it doesn't necessarily become bittersweet. It could also indicate that you are going to be reconnecting with co-workers or old clients, or even employers as well. And I would say that maybe things are not necessarily moving forward in the intimacy department either. So you feel a little bit like kind of stuck. It could even indicate that an old lover is going to be coming back into your life. Maybe you just had a one-night stand and we're going to run into each other, for example, on the streets and so forth. But it's certain type of feelings that are coming back to you with this. Sagittarius rising signs. So on one hand, Sagittarius, you are optimistic, you are future orientated. And then now we've got Venus going retrograde, which is holding you down a little bit. When it comes to finances, Sagittarius, you are brave and then you like investing. You have got certain type of ideas about how to make money. You can have a lot of ideas, and maybe you are actually slowing down, not spending so much on experiences. I mean, Venus goes retrograde in your fifth house, so you might start kind of like looking at the prices of, I don't know, holiday tickets, and then wow, these are so expensive. Or I love going to the theater, but it's a little bit too much, and so on. Maybe you are going to be spending a little bit more money on travel or entertainment, which we might regret later on. I'm just going to mention that. But hey, Sagittarius rising sign usually say that we only live once, right? But also maybe this is your artistic abilities that might be coming back to you. You might have done artistic projects before and then you kind of parked it and then now you rediscover that. But surely, where does your confidence lie? That could be also quite a big topic for you. I would say that this retrograde really wants you to reconnect with your own heart desire. It wants you to feel more beautiful. It wants you to feel unique. And it wants you to know that you are special and you've got special gifts, for example. It wants you to rediscover what happiness actually means in your life. And also, it tells you to be brave to express yourself without any type of apology. And also, I would say that with this Venus retrograde, maybe you're going to have to look at what your true passion is. What is it that make you kind of fall in love with something? Yeah, old lovers could be coming back and so on. Maybe it's about reconnecting with family members as well. Maybe you're going to have to forgive someone. You're going to have to practice a bit of a forgiveness when it comes to family members. Once at the second part of Venus retrograde, you're going to focus on the home and family life a little bit more, or where I'm coming from. And maybe you are a little bit confused about the roots that you originate from, but you're going to make a sense eventually. You can even remember past life experiences as well. And also maybe it's about a purchase of a home that you might regret later on, because unfortunately there could be some flooding, some stuff like that. So that's a possibility as well. Capricorn rising sign. So Capricorn, for you, we've got the Mercury. I almost said Mercury. Venus retrograde happening in your fourth house, and then it's going back into your third. So when it comes to finances, let's start with that. Capricorn, usually you are really good with money. You are actually good to kind of live on top of an iceberg if it's needed. So this Venus retrograde maybe is actually telling you that sometimes it is okay to spend on ourselves a little bit. But also, maybe you are a little bit worried about, okay, what is going to be happening when I'm a pensioner? What is going to be happening with my parents, for example? So even that could be switching on that type of things. But Venus starts in Aries, so that's about a desire in a way to survival needs. So this could be really making you scared, for example, what is happening in your home country as well. And even this could indicate that you have to be making a career-related choice, whether you want to be working from home and so on. And yeah, Venus retrograde might be telling you to be a slightly bit on the like on the cautious side, which you naturally have anyway. Or have you been too cautious? And then maybe you need to be listening to Venus in Aries, that it's time to be a little bit more daring, and then you can do it. Also, I would say that this retrograde might want you to kind of re-explore your own foundation. It's kind of like you've built a wall around you, and then maybe it's about time to kind of remove those. Maybe there are certain type of kind of like unconscious messages that kind of soaked up in your mind, and then we're going to have to kind of knock those down. We're going to have to let them go. It's kind of like a deeply buried emotions or values that might be stopping you from driving forward. Or maybe you have got deep rooted values, emotions, and family teachings that are actually driving you in certain type of directions. But are those the right directions? Maybe you start questioning whether your partner nurtures you, loves you, or whether they support you. And eventually, this is something that you might want to be communicating about with someone. This is surely also telling you that you are your own boss. You are in the driving seat of a car, so you're going to have to kind of rediscover that strength within yourself as well. It looks like that this retrogression really wants you to do emotional healing, emotional clearing. Maybe we're going to have to kind of like feed the soul of the inner child within us. And maybe you have been belittling yourself, you have been questioning and doubting yourself. So maybe this retrograde wants you to kind of stop doing that and somehow rewriting the future. Also, I would say that maybe it's simply you just want to be reconnecting with your family. Maybe there have been certain type of arguments or anger towards family members. And then now we want to clear the air. And retrograde represents old matters. So old matters could be popping up that we might have thought that it had been resolved, or maybe simply it hasn't been resolved. And then now it's time to kind of talk it out, to forgive, to move on, to do some reflection about it. Maybe you're going to start having memories about how you were raised. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to Aquarius rising sign. So we've got two more left. I know it's always Aquarius and Pisces that are coming the last, but probably it's worth a while, right? Or it's worth the wait. So let's start with the finances. Venus retrograde for you is actually happening in your third house, and then it's going to finish in the second. So surely the financial consideration, your financial habits are going to be quite a big topic. When it comes to Aquarius, you might have got a tendency to kind of spend money on friends, or maybe you are a little bit more on the confident side about money. And then this Venus in Aries could be daring you to spend money. So retrogression might want you to kind of slow down a little bit or review your financial expenditures. But also, I would say that if it's too risky, maybe just be a little bit mindful about it. So risk assessment could be something that you might want to be actually focusing on a little bit. And also, this could actually talk to you about learning about your own talents, what my financial talents are, how I can make money, and so forth. But the third house is also your mind. So it looks like that there is a lot of exploration, re-exploration, revisitation of your own ideas, or what is going on in my own mind? What type of patterns, what type of self-talks have I practiced so far? Where does that lead me? Does that stir me in the right direction? In what ways do I perceive life? So it really feels like that this retrogression wants you to reflect on what is going on in a way behind the scene of your mind, what is going, how the way you think, and maybe you're going to have to kind of release those, because that might be stopping you from being confident. The second house, on one hand, represents confidence. And maybe you're just going to have to kind of practice telling yourself some positive, empowering, some type of self-loving words, so that that self-esteem and self-worth is going to kind of grow. Yeah, this could talk to you about you reconnecting with your siblings, or an old neighbor of yours is going to be kind of knocking on your door or giving you a text message and so forth. So that's possible. But also, are you able to express your emotions? That could be another big topic for you. I would also say that, yeah, with this Venus retrograde, maybe you want to be revisiting places that you have been to. Maybe it's kind of like a very nice memory that you've got. It might be just a place that we used to go as a family, or maybe I went with the siblings and then I felt really good there. Maybe it's just going home, really, going home and then spending some time with the loved ones. Maybe you are going to be having conversations with someone about the past, maybe about your siblings or with the siblings, or just simply with friends as well. But surely, because Venus retrograde is going to finish in your second house, you are going to be focusing quite a lot on your income, as well as of how much money you make, what you own overall. And money could be a little bit on the tighter side. So you surely need to be watching out for your budget a little bit. And then maybe you have to be revisiting also what I need and what I don't need anymore. So maybe we can be selling certain type of stuff. Okay, Pisces rising sign. I mean, when it comes to expenditures and money, you are not the greatest. And I know it from firsthand. We tend to be kind of do the shopping, like the window shopping, and then we love something and then we fall in love and then we have to go to that shop and then we have to get it, even if it's not our size, but we kind of have to have it. So it looks like that you're going to have to be reviewing your expenditure quite a lot, unfortunately. There could be some delays with certain type of payments, for example. So you might have been waiting for money to come your way. For example, for me, it's true. Have been waiting for a month, my agent, to send me some money, and she still hasn't sent it. So tomorrow I'm going to give her a call and then I'm going to tell her, listen, I've been telling you for a month, send the money right now. So therefore, that's maybe that Venus in Aries is telling us that we're going to have to toughen up a little bit, about our financial choices that we make. But it's going to go back into Pisces. So surely it would talk to you about that you need to trust your intuition as well when it comes to your investments, or when you are making certain type of financial choices. But surely you might start spending some money on yourself as well. Maybe it's a sport, maybe it's beauty, and so on. Well, I'm starting my diet, for example, on Monday. And yeah, I've signed up for a sport retreat type of thing. So yeah, here you go. That's where I'm kind of like spending the money. So, but other than that, it is also telling you that it's time to look at your worthiness. And Venus in Pisces will represent that whatever you can imagine yourself, it can actually happen. You're just going to have to kind of start the journey. And also that might be about that my needs are truly important as well. I need to be able to feel safe. I need to be able to feel or create a secure life for myself. And I'm worthy for love. Um, Especially if you are not in a relationship, maybe self-love is going to be a major topic for yourself. And also kind of like, what do you want to do with your image, and how you kind of want to improve that? Now, that could be also quite a big topic. Yeah, this Venus retrograde also can indicate that certain type of money is going to come back to you that you have been waiting for a while, or if certain type of business transactions are going down, it might be coming with certain type of delays. So also just know that. Do you believe that you are beautiful? That could be a topic once Venus goes back into your first house. How would you like to how will you try to attract others into your life? And whether others are finding you attractive as well. And even for you, it would indicate that a past lover is going to come back to your life. So, guys, this is a short breakdown for all 12 signs connected to Venus retrograde. I hope it helps, and then it would be much appreciated if you just made a comment on it, press the like, and maybe even share the video with others. And I did notice that 60% of my viewers are not signed up to my channel, so it would be highly appreciated if you did so. Thank you very much and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.